Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech. And iPhone 14, while it's months away and typically launched to the public in September every single year, we know quite a bit about it as it takes months and years to get the design ready and manufacturing processes ready. So I wanted to talk about what we know so far, what to expect, and what could change by the time it's released. Now, the first thing is its overall design. Every single year seems to be a slight iteration, and with the iPhone 12 series, we got the squared off design back with the stainless steel rim or aluminum rim, depending on which one we have, the frame being stainless steel on the Pro models and aluminum or aluminium on the 13 and the 13 mini. With the iPhone 14, this design is said to change a bit and be more similar to that of the iPhone 4 and 4S models, meaning that instead of having just a rim or support frame around the outside edge, it would be sandwiched by two pieces of glass like the iPhone 4 and 4S. So it's said to resemble something more similar to this, with round volume buttons, again the silent switch of course, with ports on the bottom. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But being sandwiched between two pieces of glass adds for a thicker frame and some advantages as well, meaning that they can make the camera flush mount. We haven't really had that since the iPhone SE, and so a flush mount camera is something I know a lot of people would appreciate. So instead of having a 3-year cycle, it looks like we may be going back to a 2-year cycle of refreshes, where we had the 4 and 4S, the 5, the 5S, then we moved to the 6, and they didn't really refresh it for about 3 years. So it looks like we could be moving back to something similar to that. Now, as far as model availability, it seems that Apple is going to get rid of the Mini and instead replace it with sort of a max version of the base iPhone. So instead, we would have the iPhone 14, the iPhone 14 Max or a larger version, then the iPhone 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. So instead of the Mini, since it doesn't seem to be selling as well, we would switch to a larger design overall. I'm not sure that's the right move. In fact, I think they should just have a regular and a Pro model, but offering more choice and seeing how it goes is definitely something worth trying out, I suppose. As far as the displays are concerned, there's some conflicting information, and that's where this could change by the time it's released. With the non-Pro models coming out with the iPhone 14, we can expect a similar notch to what we have now. So we would have a notch and maybe a 120 Hz ProMotion display. There's conflicting reports based off the supply chain saying that the supplier of the LTPO displays that makes the 120 Hz ProMotion displays would not be able to manufacture enough to meet the needs of all 4 models. So we may only see those on the Pro models unless Apple ramps up a different manufacturer or adds supply chain manufacturing capability. So again, that could change. But for the Pro and Pro Max models of the iPhone 14, it's said to be losing the notch. Now, this was first leaked by a leaker online. The leaker called Shrimp Apple Pro leaked what it probably looks like, the actual front display glass, where we would have a pill-shaped cutout and then a separate smaller cutout next to it. This would make it a little bit more unique, and while we've seen the hole punch sort of display, we haven't seen the exact layout that Apple might be going for here, where we could have the dot projector or Face ID capability under the display. So it looks like they haven't 100% figured that out, but they would be able to give us more display on the Pro models, of course, with ProMotion and more. So for those of you that don't like the notch, it looks like it could be going away completely. Also, it looks like no Touch ID this year. Now, Apple has been said to be working on an under-the-display fingerprint sensor. I would welcome that. I know a lot of people would welcome that, especially with face masks and things like that, and not having to buy an Apple Watch. In fact, I know my brother would prefer Touch ID regardless, since he doesn't really care for Face ID. So having that option would be really nice, although it looks like it's not coming until iPhone 15. Now, the cameras are said to get a big upgrade, and while they're going to be flush mounted, the main camera is said to be a 48 megapixel camera on the Pro and Pro Max. This would be a pixel bin camera where they can combine pixels and give you the highest quality image possible. This would also allow for 8K video recording. So with 8K video recording, similar to what you have on other Samsung phones, but maybe longer recording limits. And that's where you would need a faster chipset to handle all of that. So you would have an A16 Bionic. Every year, Apple ramps this up to the next one with a minimum of 6 gigabytes of RAM. Some reports say 8 gigabytes of RAM. We could see that, and that might be necessary for an 8K video recording option. But either way, you would need that and better cooling to have sustained 8K video recording. So it's said that it's going to have a vapor chamber cooling system. Whether or not that comes true is hard to say, but Apple really doesn't do a whole lot with the cooling on the phone, and we had some issues with the 12 series phones getting a little bit too hot. They've seemed to fix that with the 13 even without that vapor chamber. So A16 Bionic could be even more efficient, and that means you might not need a larger battery to get even better battery life. As the chips get smaller and more efficient, Apple seems to be doing the impossible and giving us crazy battery life with the same size batteries. So I wouldn't expect a battery increase. However, if we do get a thicker phone, we can expect maybe a small battery bump, which would really be even better. To have 15 hours, 20 hours of battery life in an iPhone would be unbelievable. Storage options are said to get a little bit of a bump in the Pro models as well. 256 gigabytes up to 2 terabytes rather, not just 1 terabyte. And you would need that if you're doing 8K ProRes or just 8K in general. It takes up a huge amount of space when you're recording that large of a file. So that makes a lot of sense that we would have up to 2 terabyte. However, constraints on the chipset supplies and things like that may limit that a little bit. But expect at least 128 gigabytes on the lower end models or non-Pro models, 256 to start on the Pro models. That could change, of course, by the time it releases. As for ports on the bottom of the phone, well, it doesn't look like we're going portless this year, although I really hope for USB-C, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to see Lightning again and the same sort of speaker microphone layout. That seems to make sense, and then maybe at some point they'll advance MagSafe to be the port that does everything. But it looks like Lightning is here to stay. I would love to have USB-C, and we really won't know that until it launches because this port is very similar to the size of USB-C as well. So typically, they're about exactly the same size as you have USB-C here. You can see right on top of one another. They're basically the same size. So you could definitely fit that in there, and as Apple is one of the USB-C spec developers and having that on the Mac and iPad, it makes sense to add it to the iPhone, but we don't know until they actually launch it. Of course, that would help with transferring off larger 8K video or ProRes video. That's one of the biggest problems with the ProRes video on this phone is when you go to transfer it off, airdropping it or transferring it via Lightning is very slow. Of course, you can upload it to the cloud, but still you have to wait on those internet connections, where a faster USB-C or Thunderbolt port would be welcomed when it comes to transferring video. So that makes a lot of sense. Hopefully they do that. Now, usually around the July timeframe or so, we get models of the upcoming phone. They've been pretty accurate year over year. I've had them for a few years. This is the iPhone 13 models that showed us the layout of the cameras. While it doesn't look exact to what we have, it gives us an idea. The same is true of this model that represents the Pro Max. So you'll see that it shows us sort of the layout. It's not perfect, but gives us an idea of what to expect and the placement of things, such as buttons and ports and more. And the SIM card tray may be going away on the Pro models. So it's hard to say if that's really true. We've heard this for the past few years, that they might be getting rid of the SIM card tray. Some reports are saying it might go away on just one model. But either way, they may get rid of it, and that would save them some space internally. But these models represent what they look like pretty accurately, and hopefully we'll have some of these in the next few months or so after July or something along those lines so we can see what it will really look like. Of course, we can expect some new colors with the iPhone 14 lineup, although we won't know exactly what they'll be until we get closer to the launch. Last year, people thought we were going to go to an orange color for the iPhone 13 series, but instead we got Sierra Blue. Before that, we had Pacific Blue, so maybe we'll have another shade of blue or maybe even a purple that seems to be Steve Jobs' favorite. So we'll have to wait and see, but once we get closer to the final launch, we'll know more about that. Also, let me know what feature you want most in the upcoming iPhones. And also, do you like the current design? Do you want them to go back to the curved edges, such as the iPhone 11, or maybe the squared off edges or sandwich design of the iPhone 4 series devices? These are my favorites. I can't wait to have a phone that's like this again if all of this is true. So hopefully we see something like that. And it does make it very easy to open up and maybe swap a battery if you need to do that. Let me know what you think, though, in the comments below. Of course, if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.